Welcome everyone to today's talk. The topic that I'd like to go into today is really one that can be defined as slowing down. Now, I think it's fair to say that if we look into the outside world, if we reflect on what's going on, we can see that all of us are living in a very, very fast-paced world. In fact, year by year, decade by decade, the intensity with which the pace of our lives moves is becoming stronger and stronger. Whilst many decades ago we might write a letter and not expect to hear anything for maybe a week or two or even months if it was overseas, now we have an expectation that when we send a message on our phones, that the response that we're going to get is almost instantaneous. And as a result of that change in pace, our minds and our bodies and our expectations and the way that we respond has changed. We ourselves have become faster. We ourselves seem to have shorter attention spans, and we ourselves seem to be trying to compress or to fit more and more into the same amount of time that perhaps we would have done over a period of many, many days or weeks a number of decades ago. The world is faster. The expectation that we should be filling our lives with lots and lots of things is sold to us through culture, through the commercial and social worlds that we live in. And as a result of that, we find also that our schedules are becoming busier and busier. The amount of things that we deem to be necessary or absolutely need to do seems to be growing. And as a result of seeing time in a chronological and finite sense, the only option left to us is to actually speed up the pace at which we do things. And that means cramming more and more in, responding to messages more and more quickly, and just trying to get through as much as we can, in this mistaken belief perhaps that the more we do, the more accomplished we become, or the faster that we can get towards this state of peace or shanti. But the reality is that moving, living, and absorbing the energy of pace that is all around us actually gradually creates imbalances within our minds and also within our bodies. When we move quickly, we create stress in our body. When we think and move our minds from multiple topics and subjects in a very short space of time, this also creates tension and stress, not just in the mind, but in the body. In addition to that, when we move quickly, when we act quickly, when we try to think quickly and do quickly, we don't truly have an opportunity to deeply notice what is going on in the moment, because we're always thinking about the next thing. We're always wondering what is coming next. We're always planning for the next activity. And so the business of actually noticing life in the present moment becomes hijacked by this ongoing need or this ongoing subconscious pattern of moving at pace. Of course, the other challenge with moving at pace is because we are not truly present, and because we might be agitated by the need to be at pace, we can be short with people, we can easily be angered, we can easily not understand them, we can easily project the wrong expectations or views onto people, which causes challenges in our relationships and so on. What we also must understand and be careful of is the fact that this culture that we live in of pace is all pervasive, and it actually seeps into all areas of the things that we do. And actually, in particular today, I'd like to mention the fact that pace and intensity and the desire to achieve seeps into the way in which we're taught yoga and the way in which we practice yoga. So that actually the yoga practice becomes about moving quickly, perhaps even breathing quickly, and also seeing if we can accomplish and achieve and push our bodies into intense forms that maybe we're not ready for. All of these, hopefully, as we can see already, are things that can push us more and more into connection with a pattern of pace, rather than a pattern of being able to step back slightly, detach and observe things as they are in the moment. A few years ago, I was practicing a fairly intense form of physical yoga practice or asana practice that was also not just quite intense, but the movements through the asanas were also quite fast. And this was something I enjoyed very much at the time. However, it's only when I went to do a couple of trainings at the Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram, which is the school at which I've done the majority of my training. It's a tradition that really focuses on actually unpicking the patterns of the mind and the things that move us away from balance. And one of the things that they identify, or that the Yoga Sutras upon which the tradition is based, what they identify as moving us away from peace is not being able to slow down, the mind jumping from one thing to another. So their asana practice is completely linked to the breath, and the breath has to be slow. Therefore, if the breath is slow, the movement has to be slow. Now, at first, when I started practicing this, it's fair to say I almost thought it was boring. I almost didn't understand what the point was, if I'm completely honest. Dare I admit it, but this is true. However, after a few weeks of practicing in this way, I was in India at the time, so I had a lot of space and time to be able to practice and really get into what it was they were trying to reveal. And gradually I noticed week by week that as my practice slowed down, so did I. As my practice slowed down, I was able to concentrate a little bit better. As my practice slowed down, I noticed myself walking a little bit more slowly during the day. As my practice slowed down, I noticed that I was able to let go of creating such busyness in my days and to appreciate some of the spaces and taking time to be present with the things that I was doing, rather than automatically having a mindset that just wanted to jump on to the next thing. It's been the thing that I've practiced, the way I've practiced and the way I've taught for a number of years now, purely because I've noticed that in the long term, it's that kind of practice, a slow practice, a mindful practice, a long breath-based practice, that really starts to create these samskaras, these subconscious patterns that bring us towards balance, that enable us to be able to step back from the intensity of pace that we so easily get wrapped into and get dragged into, we might say, by the world around us. And when we do that, I certainly notice for myself that the result was imbalance. It was psychological imbalance. It was physiological imbalances. There was just a feeling of tightness and I guess some form of pain at a certain level within my body, within my mind, that just didn't feel like I could keep pace any longer in that way. So a slow practice allows us to actually also realize that when we slow down, it doesn't actually mean that we get anything less done. There is a false perception that the faster I go, the more I can get done. But what that doesn't appreciate is the faster we go, the more we can break things. The faster we go, the more prone we are to error. And the faster we go, the more imbalances we create in our own system. When we slow down, we begin to realize that we can become more efficient. When we slow down, we notice that we can become more mindful and we actually can begin to enjoy practicing what we are doing, whether it be writing a letter or writing an email or planning a project, purely by being present with what we are doing, rather than trying to jump on to the next thing before we've even finished the thing that we are doing in this moment. So there's this kind of false economy. I often notice it with myself when I'm trying to get somewhere quickly and I'm walking fast. And sometimes I realize actually walking fast is probably going to save me 30 or 40 seconds. But actually walking slower means that I won't really lose that much time, but actually I can enjoy myself as I'm walking. And when I arrive at the place, at my destination, I may also find that I'm in a calmer, more balanced state to go about doing in that present moment whatever I'm doing. So really the message this week is to kind of look at our lives and to notice whether the fast pace at which we live is something which is beneficial to us or whether it is detrimental to us. And then second, to notice whether the practices that we are doing, whether they feed into that pattern of pace, whether they feed in to that pattern of intensity, and to reflect on whether actually maybe we need some other kind of medicine in order to counterpose the energy of pace and intensity that is all around us in our lives today. So as always, please do reflect on this. Reflect on what it might mean to slow down in your life. Reflect on what it might feel like to slow down. And dare I say it, even see if you can practice something which allows you to experience slowing down. Notice what resistances come up and use those resistances as our teachers to help us find slowness in our lives, balance in our lives, and a true connection to ourselves and to all those around us. So thank you, as always, for joining, and I hope to see you again very soon. Namaste.